Hello. I decided to do a follow-up to my Medicare for All series because I've gotten into a lot of conversations and a lot of comments about Medicare for All. What I've been hearing is an argument that we've heard a lot, an argument that we hear from Barry Sanders. The United States spends more money per capita on healthcare than any other country, but we're ranked 37th by the World Health Organization. That argument is used to try to prove that we're spending a lot of money but not getting very good quality or not getting much for it, so obviously Medicare for All must be better. I want to debunk that theory and that argument a little bit because I think it's false. First of all, it is absolutely true. We spend a lot more in this country per capita on healthcare than any other country. We spend a lot more on a lot of things than any other country because we're the richest nation in the world. Okay, that doesn't mean I'm happy with how much money we spend on healthcare. I've consistently been arguing that we've got to do something to fix the system. We're spending too much money. Now, let's move to the other side of the argument. The World Health Organization ranks the United States 37th in healthcare delivery and healthcare quality. Well, that's a bit misleading. You see, Harry Truman once said, there are three kinds of liars in this world: liars, damn liars, and statisticians. As a statistician and an economist, I can tell you he's right. It's not so much that we're lying with statistics, is that we're using statistics to point to an inference that isn't there, to draw the wrong conclusion. Harry Truman also said that he wanted to find a one-arm economist, because every economist in the world would say, but on the other hand, all right, well, here comes the other hand. The World Health Organization ranks countries in healthcare delivery using 4 criteria. The first criteria accounts for 50% of the ranking, and that is life expectancy. The United States doesn't fare very well in that criteria. We don't do very well. I would argue that it's not because our healthcare delivery system is terrible, but it's because we have an amazingly unhealthy lifestyle that was built on the fact that, again, we're the richest nation in the world. The United States leads the world in a number of very unflattering things: obesity, diabetes, and we are second in substance abuse behind only Russia, and that's only because they include alcoholism and substance abuse. Let's think about that for a minute. We're the most obese country in the world. Obesity has a number of health concerns that are tied to it. This is largely self-imposed. We are the number one country in the world in diabetes, by far. The United States has 30 million diabetics in its country. The next 37 countries put together only have 46 million diabetics. Think about that. We have 30 million in one country. The next 37 countries have an average of only 1.2 million per country. That has a number of impacts on life expectancy and substance abuse. We have enormous problems in this country with substance abuse, including the opioid crisis. All of these things help drive down our life expectancy. I would argue that our healthcare delivery system does an amazing job keeping us alive as long as we are. But I also argue that it's not fair to punish the doctors and hospitals in this country because our lifestyle is so sedentary and difficult to manage. That's on us, not on them, and me included. I have those issues, and they're my problems, not my doctor's problems. Now, there are a few other things the United States scores very high in as well. People don't want to talk about those. We are number one in housing availability and quality. Number one. We are number one in food availability. Caloric intake per capita is number one in the United States. But you know what we're not number one at? Food cost. We're number 15 there. There's a lot of very cheap food available in this country and a lot of housing available in this country compared to other countries in the world. Again, we are the richest country in the world, and that comes with some positives and some negative side effects. Now, the rest of the World Health Organization's criteria is 25% on access. We actually do okay in that. And then the last 25% is on fairness of contribution. Fairness. I don't know as an economist or a statistician how to measure fairness. Is it fair that I as an employer pay for all of the health care from all of my employees? It's probably not very fair. Should that be a negative on our country? Or would it be more fair if everybody got taxed double what they're currently being taxed so we could provide it for everybody? My point is fairness is subjective. It shouldn't be in an objective measure of World Health Organization, but it is. So the argument that the United States is performing poorly in our healthcare delivery system, I think is false. Absolutely false. You know what our country also scores number one in? 5-year cancer survivability rates. See, that's what our healthcare system does. Again, don't get me wrong. It's horribly broken. It needs to be fixed. But let's fix the right things. Let's treat the right things and not the wrong things. A couple of parting comments. Early this morning, I read a small story about a pediatric condition that's very rare but incredibly devastating. It's basically an immune system deficiency that makes these kids not able to interact with the outside world. They have to live in a bubble. Some of you may remember the old movie with John Travolta, The Boy in the Bubble. Well, that's about this condition. The story was about how the fact that they think they have a cure, a gene therapy cure. It's been given to, I think, 7 kids, and it looks like it cured them. These kids will now be able to go out on the playground and lead long, productive, healthy lives. A cure, ladies and gentlemen. The story also talked about the drug company who developed it. Their stock price went up by 400%. Yep, that's right. We should get profit out of healthcare. It's bad. Very bad. Again, I think there are issues with the way the pharma companies work. I think there's issues about all of healthcare. But let's not kill the whole thing without understanding some of the positives we get. If that potential stock increase wasn't there, they wouldn't have worked and developed that drug. They wouldn't have spent the money. Now, you could argue it's only a few kids that gets it. Who cares? It's not my kid. One more argument. I hear a lot of people talking about the fact that I have a vested self-interest, that I want things to stay the same because that's how I make my money, or I somehow get paid to do these videos to make sure we try to keep the status quo. That's not true. Everything I've ever written, including the book that I wrote, talks about this system being broken and it needs to be fixed. My argument isn't to keep the status quo. It's let's not use a fix that's worse than what we already have. And I think Medicare for All would do that. As a matter of fact, the opposite is actually true. Anytime there's incredible disruption in a marketplace, consultants do very well. That's what I am, a consultant. So if they went to Medicare for All, I'd have more work than I want to know what to do with. I would be rich. Wait a minute. What am I saying? Yes, Medicare for All. Medicare for All. We need to pass it now. We need to pass it right away. Daddy's got some kids who got to go through college, and we need to pass Medicare for All so that I will have a lot of work to do. Where's my checkbook? I got to make a contribution to Bernie Sanders. I got to do it quick. But seriously, folks, this isn't just an economic study for me. I think about those parents whose kids are now cured because of the development of gene therapy. I think about what it must be like for them and the fact that that may not have happened if we were in a country with socialized medicine. Now, my child doesn't have that deficiency, thank God. My child has autism. And I'm praying to God that our system develops a cure for that. It may not help my son, but it may keep somebody else from going through the same thing. So don't talk to me about my self-interest. And don't talk to me about that I'm not wanting change. Because that's just BS, and I won't have it anymore. I'm more than willing to engage in a discussion. If somebody's got a much better ideas than mine, let's have them. Hallelujah. But Medicare for All isn't it. And I'm willing to argue that point with anybody who wants to, because I think I'm right on this. Thank you.